This week, I'm going to lead you through a Yin Yoga practice. In this practice, we're going to focus on the 6 movements of the spine, releasing tension, not just along the spine, but in the whole body. Let's get started. For this Yin Yoga practice, I suggest having at least one bolster for your practice, or you could also use a pillow, a cushion, or you could roll a blanket to resemble a bolster. And another prop that might be handy is a block. I have just one block today, but you can always have more props in your practice. When you are ready to begin, bring yourself onto your mat, and we'll start by bringing the bolster lengthwise under our belly, under our chest, and then we're going to start from hands and knees, and we'll start with some movement. Before going into our long yin poses, start to now circle the weight from hands to knees, from knees to hands. You could go through big circles, or it could be just some small, gentle movement. And you can change the direction of those circles. Here, our intention is to let the body move before we settle into our long-held yin poses. You can now let your hips move so you can circle the pelvis as well. And then bring your weight to center, and we'll go through a few more cat-cow movements. So in your own time, start to now round and arch the spine, allowing your chest, your lower back, your pelvis to move. Head can move as well. And do a few rounds in your own time, really trying to let the movement go through the whole spine. You can bring chin towards the chest as you round the back. You can tuck the tail under, and then let your chin and your tail move the opposite way when you open your chest. Let's do another 1 or 2 rounds. Here as well, you might be rocking the weight forward and back together with those spinal movements. One last round. Just letting movements out. And then let's settle back in the center. And we're going to start with a twist as our longer yin movements. Now, come sit down on your left hip so you can walk your knees to the right side of the mat. Bring your bolster or your pillow close to the left hip. And then we're going to leave knees on the side and turn chest towards the bolster. And slowly, as you exhale, with a twist in the spine, lean your chest, your head down. You could turn your head to one side of the mat. And feel free to adjust where your arms are. So you could have your arms further out to the sides. You could slide your arms over the head. You could also lengthen your arms down next to your sides, especially if you feel that there's any tension or even pain in the shoulders. And also feel free to still adjust your legs. Legs could be on top of each other or wider apart. Let yourself find a shape where you could start to release your spine into that twist. Having that bolster under the chest is only my suggestion today. You can also move the bolster aside and lean your chest, your head all the way down on the mat, on the floor. Allow your breaths to slide down and up along the spine. And if at any point you feel that there's pain in your body, you are more than welcome to adjust, change the shape, Or you might decide that you want to come out of the pose. And if you want to release this twist earlier, I would recommend child's pose as an alternative pose to rest your spine. If you feel that the twist is still manageable, take another 5 to 10 breaths in and out in your twist. With each out breath, allow yourself to release tension. That really is the main focus in our practice today. Releasing effort and releasing tension along the spine. From your neck all the way down to the tail. And then either after your 5 to 10 breaths, or when you feel that you'd be ready to release this twist, just slowly bring hands under the shoulders and help your chest, your head to your belly off the bolster. Now we'll leave the bolster where it is and just turn our back towards the bolster. And then we're going to recline on top of the bolster, leaning our back, our head down. At this point, if you feel that your head goes too low down, you could bring your block or any extra props under your head or under the neck as some extra support. So now we are finding a back bend for the spine. And you could leave your knees, your legs bent. You could extend your legs, especially if you feel that having them bent in that twist for a long time. If you feel that in your knees, in your hips, then let your legs just extend at this point. Or the third, final option for the legs would be a butterfly shape. That might also work as a nice counter pose after that twist, where the hips are rotated in. Now you could allow your hips to open. Choose any option that feels good in your back. Just acknowledging that where you choose to have your legs affects your hips, that affects your pelvis, which affects your spine. So just being aware of how one change can also affect the other parts of your body. And if our intention today is to release tension along the spine, choose an option that allows you to release your spine, release your back, your neck, also your shoulders. You might have arms, again, open on the sides. Choosing a place that serves your body today. And if, as you stay longer, you want to make changes, you might adjust your pose. And after any change, always bring your awareness, your attention back to your breath. Allowing your breaths to slide down and up along the spine. Allowing each breath to be like a mini micro movement along the spine within the stillness of the pose. Now we could spend another 5 to 10 breaths in this back bend if you want to. If you'd like to release this pose earlier, you could just roll onto your right side and take a moment resting on your right side. Always respect and listen to your body. I'm only suggesting minutes, but you know your body best and you decide what's a good time to stay in each pose today. That might be a different length of time than what you held the pose last time you practiced. Then either after your 5 to 10 breaths or when you feel you'd like to release the back bend, you'd be ready to come out. First, give some gentle movement for your hands and feet. If you have your legs in a butterfly pose or extended, slowly bend your knees, bringing feet onto the mat. And then if you'd like to move, swing your knees, swing your legs a few times from side to side. Just very gentle windshield wipers. Bring arms to a place where you can support yourself with your hands and arms. And then slowly bring your both legs to the right side of your mat. Roll onto your right side and then bring yourself up to sitting on the right hip, preparing for the twist on the other side. So you might need to adjust your prop slightly. You can bring that right hip close to the end of your bolster, or maybe you want to twist without the bolster, so you can also then move your bolster aside. But with your knees on the opposite side of the mat, now we're going to turn chest, belly towards the mat, towards the bolster, and then slowly release the chest down. Finding that twist on the other side again. You might turn head to one side or the other. It might be that the twist is slightly different on this second side. You might still adjust your legs. The legs could be close together or they might be wider apart. And listen to what feels good, what feels rather gentle along your spine. And then find your breath. And just observing how the breath slide in, slide out. Allowing your mind to rest in your breath. And although we are not moving a lot, we are encouraging stillness. Always remember that you're not stuck in the pose. If you feel a need to move or adjust, or if there's pain in your body, then you're always welcome to make changes. And here again, if the twist becomes too long for your back today, you can always rest in child's pose.
We could spend another 5 to 10 breaths in the twist if you're still there. And if it still feels like a safe pose for your back, your shoulders and your hips. At the end of your 5 to 10 breaths, take a couple of slightly deeper breaths in and out, preparing for the next transition. And then when you feel ready to come out of that twist, again, slide hands under the shoulders. Slowly help your chest, your head up. And then you can turn towards the bolster. We're going to find our way into a seated forward bend. And I'm suggesting that today we opt for a cross-legged pose. If cross-legged pose doesn't feel good in your hips, you could try a butterfly pose. Or you might opt for extended legs. Try to choose the option that allows you to round your back forward. You can also sit on a block or even sit on your bolster. But find a comfortable seat. If you go for the cross-legged seat, then just make a note of which leg is in front. Halfway through, I'll let you change the legs the other way around. You could bring some props in front of you and then just slowly start to lean your pelvis, your back forward. Don't force yourself to go too far down too fast. Just see where it's easy to go first. If needed, you can bring some extra props, maybe under the head, under the chest. And start to release your back into that forward bend. It might take a while to find where your back can start to release. And if there's a lot of tension on the back side of the spine, then give yourself time. I'm suggesting to lean your head onto something, a block, a bolster in the beginning of the pose, just to release the neck, have some support for the heavy head. But if you would rather hang your head down, maybe get a bigger stretch in the neck, then that is your choice. Allow your shoulders to soften. And even if you're leaning onto your hands or arms, try to not tense the arms or shoulders too much. It might be that your buttocks come off the mat. Don't feel that you need to press your pelvis down. Rather see what would be a natural shape in the pelvis, along the spine. And where you still have space for the breaths. In a forward bend, you might be breathing more towards the back side of your body. And at any point, again, if you need to adjust, maybe it's going a bit deeper into the pose, moving the props that you're using, feel free to adjust. We are about halfway through this forward bend. So now if you have your legs in that cross-legged shape, take a slightly bigger breath in and out. Bring your back higher up. Change that crossing in your legs. So just moving the other leg in front or on top. And then let yourself lean back into that forward bend. And it might be that you need to adjust your props as you lean back down. And then again, after that change, notice your breath. And maybe send a few breaths to those areas that you feel now. We still have about 1.5 minutes in this forward bend. Notice if you want to make other changes, or if you want to come out of the pose earlier. Seated forward bends can be quite intense poses, both for the spine, for the hips, for the legs. So if you start to feel that you're forcing yourself to stay in the pose, or if there's any pain in your body, you are more than welcome to release the pose, come out of the pose and find a Savasana pose. Or if that forward bend is still okay, take another 5 to 10 breaths in and out. Every exhalation, softening tension there might be left. And then either after your 5 to 10 breaths, or when you feel that you'd be ready to slowly and carefully come out of that forward bend, help with your hands, help with your arms to slowly walk the back up. Roll the shoulders a couple of times. You could turn head from side to side and just notice how your back, your hips feel. If you want, you could step hands behind the pelvis, release the legs, and then lean away from that forward bend. Send a couple of breaths towards the chest, towards the front line. And then when you feel ready, either move your bolster aside or turn it sideways. And you could bring your legs on top of the bolster. We're going to lean onto the back, on the mat. Finding a Savasana pose, a neutral spine for a moment. And take a few breaths here, in and out. Just notice how your back feels now in this neutral shape. Send a couple of breaths down and up along the spine. If you feel that you need to move here, you could bend your knees, swing the legs a few times from side to side. We still have the side bends left in our 6-movement yin practice. So when you're ready, either extend your legs onto the mat, or you could still have that bolster under the legs. And we're going to move into the banana pose. Now we'll start with the legs. First, slide your feet towards the left bottom corner of the mat, still keeping both buttocks on the mat. You might cross your ankles if that helps to anchor the legs. And you could either stay here, or you could now add the upper body. You could start by bringing arms overhead. Hold the right wrist with the left hand, and then with an in-breath and out-breath, slide your shoulders, your arms, your upper back towards the left side of the mat as well. If you feel this is very intense for the shoulders, then feel free to release one or both arms down next to the sides. With this side bend, we are creating a gentle opening along the right side of the spine. You might also feel this down in the legs. Make sure there's no pain anywhere along the back. If you start to feel any pinch, then just come back slightly. Find a slightly smaller banana shape in your body. You can also turn head to one side or the other. You could send a few breaths towards the right armpit. Send a few breaths down towards the right hip. So breathing along that right side of the spine. If you feel that you want to move further into the side bend, you might either slide your feet further to left or inch your upper back, your shoulders more to the left side of the mat. We could stay another 5 to 10 breaths in that side bend. Or again, if you want to come out of the pose earlier, you are very welcome to just return back to Savasana pose at any point. And then either after your 5 to 10 breaths, or when you feel you'd be ready to release your banana pose, if you're still there, just slowly start to slide your shoulders, your upper back to center. Slide your legs back to center. And if you want, you could hug your knees in here. If you feel that you need to round the back at this point. You could also rock from side to side. And then we are going to slide into that banana pose on the other side. So again, either with or without the bolster under the legs. Now we'll slide our feet, our legs towards the right. the bottom corner. Again, you might cross the ankles if you want. And you could stay here, half a banana. Or you could bring arms overhead, maybe hold left wrist with your right hand and with a gentle, gentle pull and slide. Bring your shoulders, your upper back towards the right side of the mat. Try to soften your hands, arms. Again, you might choose to bring one or both arms down next to the sides. You might turn head to one side or the other. On the second side, it might be that the pose, the shape of the pose needs to be different, and that is very fine. Listen to your body and be kind to your body. You might use your breath as a tool to release tension in those areas that you feel most right now. Or you might also use your breath as a tool to bring awareness to those areas that you can't really feel right now. Just let yourself breathe and let those breaths soften tension, especially along your spine. Slowly sinking deeper into the pose. And if needed, you might adjust the shape. Maybe you move a bit deeper. Maybe you change the shape of the pose. We could spend another 5 to 10 breaths on the second side of the banana pose. Or you might choose to release the pose earlier. And then after your 5 to 10 breaths, if you feel ready to come out of the pose, slowly start to slide yourself back to center. Releasing your back, releasing your legs. And now let yourself find your Savasana pose. You could stay lying down on your back, maybe a bolster under the legs. Or if you'd rather come lie down on your belly, that would be an equally good option. Or you might also lie down on your side. Find any easy pose for your final resting pose. Take a few slightly deeper breaths in and out. With each exhalation, allowing yourself to become a bit heavier. Giving yourself permission to relax in this Savasana pose.
I will leave you here for 5 minutes with some music. And then we'll come back together at the end of this resting pose. Give yourself a few more breaths in your resting pose. Maybe a few slightly deeper breaths, bigger breaths. Feeling the waves of your breath sliding in, sliding out. And together with those breaths, start to bring some gentle movement to your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet. If you want, you could hug the knees in if you're lying down on the back. Or if you're lying down on your belly, maybe curl into a child's pose. But take a few breaths, just slowly waking up your body from that resting pose. And then in your own time, start to find your way into a seat, into your own final seat. And that could be any pose of your choice. You might sit on a block, you might sit on a bolster. Find a place where you could still have your hips, your spine, your shoulders soft. If it's a part of your practice, you can bring your palms together in front of the chest. And as always, at the end of the practice, thank yourself for bringing yourself into this practice today. Thank yourself for slowing down, for listening to your body, your breath. And I thank you very much for joining in, for sharing this practice. Namaste. Thank you.